On the 7th of September, 1553, Elizabeth I, the last Tudor monarch, was born in Greenwich Palace to King Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Elizabeth faced a difficult childhood even though her father, Henry VIII, saw that she was brought up Protestant and was well educated in it. At the age of 2, her mother, Anne Boleyn, was beheaded on the accounts of adultery ordered by her father, Henry VIII, who wanted a son to be his successor for the throne. After her mother's death, Elizabeth was exiled from court. As a child, Elizabeth did not give much notice of her having various stepmothers. She did not show any psychological impacts of this until her adulthood, when she became queen. Within a year of King Edward VI's death, Mary I finally became queen. During her reign in 1554 and the Wyatt Rebellion, it was not difficult to persuade Queen Mary that Elizabeth I had been involved in the conspiracy to overthrow the queen. The fact that Elizabeth was a Protestant only ignited the fire towards suspicions. As a result of these suspicions, Elizabeth was questioned at Whitehall, where she denied all accusations of taking part in the plot. When she asked to meet with her sister, Queen Mary, and was denied her request, she asked permission to write a letter instead. The letter displayed her fear, and in it she pleaded her innocence. Mary eventually received the letter but refused to read it because it had not received her consent, and thus on March 17, 1554, Elizabeth entered the Tower of London. While she was in prison, the death of her sister Mary I took place due to a tumor which was thought to be her pregnancy. The death of Queen Mary resulted in Elizabeth becoming queen, and she was next in line. Elizabeth rose to the throne on November 17, 1558, and her coronation was held on January 15, 1559, at Westminster Abbey at the age of 25. Parliament pressed Elizabeth to marry as it was considered to be a social necessity as well as a manner of forming alliances with other European powers, and additionally, children would ensure a line of succession. This eventually led to Parliament stating that they would not grant Elizabeth any more funds until the matter of her marriage was settled in 1566. Elizabeth responded to this by informing Parliament that she would marry when it was convenient, as well as stating that she was more concerned with the welfare of both the country and its people than with marriage. She did, however, see courtship as a useful political tool. She maintained friendships with Henry, Duke of Anjou, Sir Walter Raleigh, and Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, among others. In the end, Elizabeth never married or had any children.
It is England I married, my lords. It shall be sufficient for me, when I die, that a marble headstone declares that this queen, having lived for such and such a time, lived and died a virgin.
In 1586, Walsingham, a man who detested Mary Queen of Scots and was strongly against her, discovered that she had been working with a young man named Anthony Babington and his group of Catholic followers to assassinate Elizabeth I. His plot commenced when he called forth a man named Gifford to act as a double spy, and help transfer the letters to and from Mary in order to find her guilty. Because of this, Walsingham was able to intercept the letters, decode the symbol code they were written in, and then deliver them to Elizabeth before resealing and sending them. Finally, Walsingham's day of success came when a letter containing all the details, names, and proofs of Mary's involvement with the plot arrived. It was delivered to Elizabeth, and Babington as well as his followers were publicly executed to prevent future plots of assassination. On October 15, 1586, Mary's trial finally began and she was convicted as guilty. Elizabeth was hesitant to sign the warrant for Mary's execution. Elizabeth did not want to execute a fellow queen, and she additionally feared that Mary's subjects would most likely want to avenge their monarch by striking England. Mary Queen of Scots was executed in February 1587. Elizabeth, who had been unprepared for it to happen so quickly, cried inconsolably for days. A year after the execution of Mary Queen of Scots, Philip II of Spain launched the Spanish Armada to overthrow Queen Elizabeth I in 1558. The Spanish Armada was proved to be a disappointment to Spain when Philip's armada sent to England was defeated in 1558, thus making England dominant in the seas.